Shalom. In this session, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to have fun with the biblical language with Hebrew. You don't have to know any Hebrew at all. It's just a very sort of introductory working with Hebrew, and I'm going to do it through the concept of love. Now, in Hebrew, love is not like love that we understand love in our Western world. It's an entirely different concept. And the one thing I want you to go away with is the idea that the Hebrew concept of love is an action word. So it's not a feeling word like we have in our Western world, it's an action word. Now I want you to take a look at the Hebrew. The Hebrew is ahav. That's the three-letter root. Ahav, it has three letters, aleph, hey, vet. That can be, it's a bet, but it can be pronounced either as a bet or a vet. All right, and I'm saying ahav, so I'm calling it not a bet, but a vet. All right, let's take a look at our Hebrew word here. Okay, it's ahav. The first letter is an aleph, and you need to recognize these are what we call block letters. In Hebrew, you read block letters. You do not write block letters, you read block letters, you write cursive. And I'm going to show you a little cursive in this session here. But let's work right now on ahav, which is our three-letter root for love, and it begins with an aleph. Now, aleph can appear at the beginning of a word, and I've given you another word, amar. And all I want you to do is to see the aleph. You see how the aleph is at the beginning of the word, amar. It can occur at the end of a word. So we have kana, and then we have another word here, zon. It's in the middle. Now we're getting different sounds because aleph doesn't have any sound. I tell people it sounds like an ah, but it will change depending on where it is and how the word is pronounced. So it has an ah sound, but it's going to change all over the place depending on how it's used. So we have here amar, kana, and zon. Now, I'm going to show you just a little phrase that has two alephs. So the first thing you want to do is you want to recognize the aleph in the first word and the aleph in the second. Now, Hebrew is read from right to left. So we start on the right, and it says, Vayomer Elohim. Elohim is a word for God, and that's the one on the left because we started reading from the right. Vayomer Elohim. And so we've put Amar into a sentence, and we can see the Amar in a sentence. All right, now I want to do some more here, so let's just go on. I'm going to take this Vayomer Elohim, and I'm going to show you that Amar is a three-letter root. First of all, we start with a Vav, Vayomer Elohim. That's the Vayomer Elohim. It's just a little connector, that's all it is. And we translate it and or so or something like that. So here, let's translate it and. Now, what we have next is Vayo. The Yud comes before our Aleph, and it's giving the Aleph a different sound. Vayomer. All right, now our three-letter root system is Amar. Can you see the three-letter root in there starting with an Aleph? Amar, but we've put it into a sentence, Vayomer. Now we've got to get Elohim. Elohim starts with an Aleph, and it's pronounced here as an elo, lo, him. So we have Vayomer Elohim. All right, we're ready now to work on our word for love. And I've just given you this little introduction, so because I want you to get your feet wet in Hebrew. You can be a beginner in Hebrew, that's okay, or maybe you know some Hebrew, that's okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take the verbal root for love. Now the verbal root is typically three letters, and we're going to see the three-letter verbal root for love. Oh, but first, I'll go back here. Let's see, I've got Amar, Vayomer, Elohim. Okay, so that's finishing the last work that we just did. We're ready now for our love, so let's go on to love. Love starts with an aleph, but it's pronounced ahav, because we start with an aleph, and we're pronouncing it ahav. The second letter is a hey. The third letter is a bet, which can be pronounced either as a ba or a va. And I'm pronouncing it with like a V sound, ahav. So what we have now, I'm going to put that three-letter root into a verbal construction. And we have here ahavta. Ahavta is our three-letter root, ahav, and we've added a ta at the end, which simply means you. It's a pronoun. We put it at the end to make a pronoun. With the three-letter root, we can put things at the beginning, we can put them at the end, and so the three-letter root can be used in the verb system, and it will create different senses of the verb. All right, we're dealing with a verb here, ahav, ahavta. And you can see here, it's in another construction here, which is va yihaveha. So va is our vav, it's a connector. And then we have yihaveha. It's, the aleph is almost silent here, yihaveha. So we're taking that three-letter root. All I want you to see is the three-letter root, and I'm showing you how we can put things at the beginning, we can put things at the end. That's all. Now you don't have to know exactly what these things mean. I just want you to key in on that three-letter root. Now let's take a look here at our concept of ahav, which is to love. Now in the Western tradition, love is a feeling. And I put up here the heart. You know, you feel love. That is our Western concept of love. It is totally contrary to the Hebraic sense of love. The Hebraic sense of love is an action word. Now, I put in a picture here to be action. Now, this may not be the action that you express, or maybe it will, I don't know. But the point is that the Hebrew concept of love is action. So if you love a person, you may or may not have this feeling. You may. I mean, we can see in the biblical account that you know, people did have this feeling, but you may not have that feeling. But the important thing is that you express your love through actions. And now, what I want to do now is I want to use these ancient methods of searching the scriptures. And I'm going to take you into some verses that use ahav, that use the biblical concept of love, so that we can understand better the biblical concept of love. Now, you remember in the ancient world, people did not have books. They listened, they learned by memorizing, and they heard the text. So that we're going, as we go through these verses, we're going to be practicing our ancient methods of searching the scriptures. We're going to listen for anything unusual, and we're going to do it in English, so you'll be able to do it in English. But I want to show you how you find these verses, all right? I'm in a teaching mode today. Let me show you how you find the verses. All right, we're going to be using these ancient methods of searching the scriptures. We want to find where ahav first appears in Scripture. This is a principle of the ancient world. We can see it in the work of the sages. They believe that God placed that first usage of a word in a way that marked its importance. And so we're going to take a look at where ahav first appears in Scripture, and it's going to mark the importance of our word ahav. Then we're going to let Scripture interpret itself. That means we're going to use a concordance to find where ahav is used in the biblical text. We're not going to find where the English translation love is used. We're going to be working with the Hebrew word ahav. And this means that you have to learn the Hebrew alphabet. That's all you have to learn is the alphabet. And it's really quite simple. You know, when my husband was going to work in Japan for a month, and he said, well, you know, would you like to come with me? Oh, you know, that sounded wonderful, yes. And I said yes, we got the tickets, and then he announced to me that he would be working, and we were not going to be in Tokyo, so I would be on my own for most of the time. And we were not in Tokyo where people spoke English. We were in Nagaoka, where I was going to have to know Japanese to be able to get out and do something during the day when he was working. So I actually used a method that helped me learn Japanese in 6 weeks. So I take that principle and I apply it to teaching you how to use the Hebrew alphabet. Now, you can go to our website. Let me show you here. You go to, let's see, first of all, I want to show you that we have two websites. The first website is BibleInteract.tv, and this is where we put up our teachings. So you can hear us teaching. It's not where you're going to go to learn, it's where you could hear us teaching. And when we teach, we're explaining how we use these methods and how we draw our conclusions. I recommend that you go to where it says videos and you click on Bible teachings. That will take you to lists all the teachings that we've got up on this website. We have over 100 of them. And we want you just to have fun, to be able to listen to our teachings. But now let me take you to our second website. Our second website is BibleInteract.com. So the first one is .tv, the second one is .com. And this is our education site. This is where you go if you want to learn. I've circled there where it says resources, and near the bottom of that list it says Hebrew. I think it says Hebrew alphabet. I can't read it from here, but it's to learn Hebrew. So you click on that, and it takes you to, I've divided the alphabet into two parts, and it's a video, and I'm using these techniques, you know, and they treat you like a 2-year-old. and people have told me, I finally learned the Hebrew alphabet from this site. There's something I want you to also notice here. See that red circle I'm putting around it? That is the chart of Hebrew letters. Now you read the block, and those videos are going to teach you how to read the block letters. You're just learning the alphabet. Read the block letters. But this circle right down here is going to lead you to a page that is the chart of Hebrew letters, so you learn to write them in cursive. Because you read block, but you write cursive. So you need to learn you need to recognize the Hebrew block letters, but if you're going to be doing exercises and writing things in your notes, you're going to be doing it in cursive. And then I've put that red, oblong thing down there, and that simply says, download the Hebrew cursive letters practice sheet. So what you do is you print out exactly what you can see there on the screen and on the website, so that you can practice your cursive. First, you have to learn to recognize the block letters. That's all you have to do, is recognize the block letters. Then you learn how to write the cursive. Okay? By the way, Bible Interact offers a course on reading biblical Hebrew, but you have to know your cursive, because all the exercises requires you to write, and you have to write. You write in the cursive. You don't write in the block letters. You read the block letters, but you write in the cursive. So we have two websites, and I took you to the first one, BibleInteract.tv, which has over 100 of our teachings, and then I took you to BibleInteract.com, which is our site for education. Now, we're going to go into the concept of biblical love, and we're going to use these ancient methods of searching the scriptures. I've already explained that we're going to take a look at where ahav first appears in scripture. So let's do that now. And you're going to be surprised. I was actually surprised when I saw it. All right? It's the story of the near sacrifice of Isaac. And God says to Abraham, take now your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac. It's the very first time that ahav appears in the Hebrew scriptures. And it's significant. And it's amazing, because this account of the near sacrifice of Isaac is at the very heart of what God is trying to tell us here. So take your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains of which I tell you. Now, I have highlighted that what I feel are the two key words. One word, of course, is love. That's what we're working on. But what is the expression of love? The expression of love is an action word, and Abraham is going to offer his son. Now, we need to understand what the word offer is. All right? But first we're going to go in and look at the word love. So you see here a picture of Abraham taking Isaac up to Mount Moriah, where he's going to offer him. and he loves his son, your only son whom you love. Now, I've put you love, ahavta. The ta at the end is the preposition you. Ahav is our verbal root. And so the son whom you love, ahavta. All right? And now what we want to do is we want to take a look at that other key word. He's going to offer him as a burnt offering. Now, our word offer is not to give. I just assumed when I was reading the English that it was to give him, because in that action word of love, a large part of it is to give. But this word offer is something else, and I want to show it to you. All right? We've got here, Alehu Sham Leolah. You recognize a three-letter root, and it's in there twice. The three-letter root is Allah, which means to give up to God. It goes up. It's a concept of going up, but you're giving up to God. Sham simply means there. So we have here Alehu, all right? So offer him, you hear the preposition at the end, Alehu, Sham Leolah, all right? And here Leolah is used as a noun, and it's as a burnt offering. A burnt offering is the sweet incense that floats up to God. Now we're going to stop here just for a little bit, because this is an incredibly powerful passage. The concept of love is giving something to God by sending it up. And you have the picture of the burnt offering, which is, you burn the animal, but the sweet incense goes up to God. It's a sweet incense, a sweet offering to God. So what I want to explain here to you is that the concept of love is to give, but you give in a way that is actually going to God. So if you're in a relationship, a marriage relationship, and you want to express your love to your wife or your husband, you give, but you don't give in a way that is for your self-interest. You don't give in a way that is going to harm the person, to reinforce some kind of worldly behavior. You give in a way that really is a gift to God. That's really what it is. And so when you're expressing your love to another person, you do it in a way that's going to send that sweet incense up to God. That's really what it's telling us. Now let's keep going here. All right, we've taken a look at where it first appears. Now let's let Scripture interpret itself. We're going to need a concordance. I recommend to my students to use an online concordance, which is at www.biblos.com. Now, if you use your internet connection, you'll go to this page. This is biblos.com. I've put a circle around the interlinear Bible, which is where you want to go, to the interlinear. So let's click on the interlinear, and it will take us to the interlinear. The interlinear has the English translation on one line and the Hebrew words on another line. Now, up on that top bar, you have to put in our verse Genesis 22:2, and it will take you to this verse, Genesis 22:2. Now, we're looking for that word for love, all right, that your son, your only son that you love. And I've circled that love concept. And at the very top is a number. It's actually Strong's number. You click on Strong's number, and it's going to take you to another page. Now, Strong's definition is up at the top left. And I tell my students, don't even read it, because it's an English definition of an English word. Don't look at Strong's definition. I want you to go over to the concordance. Now, the concordance is over here on the right-hand side. The concordance is going to list every verse where our word ahav appears in Scripture. At the very top, it'll say there are 209 occurrences. Well, there's no way you're going to look through 209 occurrences. So I suggest that you narrow it down. Now, the sages believed that the Torah, the first 5 books, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, it was the heart. And of course, the prophets are a commentary on the Torah. The writings are a commentary on the Torah. So you can stick right in the Torah. If the Torah has a lot of usages, then you narrow down to just Genesis. And that's what we're going to do. So what you have to do is you have to scroll down. And when you scroll down, you're going to see all the 200 and how many occurrences it was. We're just going to look at the ones that are in Genesis. what I have my students do is I have them make a list of the verses that they're doing. So, and then they have a list, and beside in the list they'll take some brief notes, starting, of course, with the first usage. Now we're just working in Genesis, so let's take a look here. We're going to let Scripture interpret itself. That's what we've just done. We've used a concordance to find, I think it's 6 verses that we're going to take a look at. Those are the verses in Genesis. And we're going to listen for anything unusual. Now let's start in the next appearance of our word, and we're going to see that in Genesis 24:67. Isaac took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her. All right, we can see the 3-letter root, ahav, and we've got yehaveha. And don't worry about how it sounds. We've put something in the front, which changes the sense of the word. We've put something at the end, which is a pronoun, and we've got our 3-letter root. That's what I want you to look at as our 3-letter root. Now, this love between Isaac and Rebekah was a marriage relationship, so we want to take a look at how biblical love operates in a marriage relationship. The key is an action. Action. How do you express an action? You give an action by giving, and you can give in a number of ways. In this account, Isaac was comforted. So Rebekah, his wife, was providing him comfort. So the comfort that she gave him was an action. She had to do action. It wasn't a feeling. She had to do action in order for him to feel comforted. We also reinforce godly behavior. When we give, we reinforce godly behavior. I learned that the hard way because, my heart wants to give, but if I'm giving in a way that is going to reinforce worldly behavior, it's harmful and it's going to do a lot of damage. So you have to be very careful about what you give, and you remember that sweet incense that goes up to God. So what you give in a relationship, God has to smell it as a sweet incense. And finally, we have to be all positive, nothing negative in us. And we express love by giving in everything in a positive way. All right? So let's take a look at the next verse here. The next verse, we see that Isaac loved Esau, but Rebekah loved Jacob. And here we have the picture here of Esau coming in from the field. He was the firstborn son entitled to the birthright. Jacob was not a man of the field. He stayed at home with his mom, and he was good at cooking, and he was good at doing things around the tent. Now, we have a conflict here because we have Isaac loving Esau, we have Rebekah loving Jacob. We've got a clue in the middle. Do you see it? Isaac loved Esau because he had a taste for game. All right, I want you to stop and think about this for a minute. We have Esau, who is expressing love to his father. Esau is doing godly love. He's bringing his father wonderful things to eat that his father loves. But Isaac is not operating godly love. Isaac loved Esau because Isaac had a taste for game, and Esau would give him food. What kind of a love is that? That's not an expression of giving. Now, Esau was true love. He was giving that food to his father. Isaac was not true love. Let me show it to you. It repeats here. So, Isaac says, "Prepare a savory dish for me, such as I love, and bring it to me that I may eat." Does that sound like true love? That's not true love. I mean, Esau is going to respond with true love, but that's not true love on Isaac's part. Now, Rebekah says to Joseph, go now to the flock. This is to Joseph. They're about to do that deceit, to trick Isaac. "Go now to the flock and bring me 2 choice young goats from there, that I may prepare them as a savory dish for your father, such as he loves." So what we have here is we have 2 expressions of love. One is godly, one is not godly. And the ungodly is to give or to express love in a way that will not float as a sweet incense up to God. The true love is to give in a way that floats that sweet incense up to God. And Isaac was expressing true love by wanting to bring to his father something that his father loved to eat. So, all right, let's keep going on here. We have another verse. Jacob loved Rachel, so he said, I will serve you 7 years for your younger daughter Rachel. So here is an expression of love. I'm willing to serve for 7 years for the one whom I love, who is Rachel. And then we get, Israel loved Joseph more than all his sons because he was the son of his old age and he made him a vari-colored tunic. So here again, Israel, who's Jacob, is not expressing true love because look what it leads to. His brothers saw that their father loved him more than all his brothers, and so they hated him and could not speak to him on friendly terms. So what we have here again is a concept of ungodly giving. Jacob expressed his love to Joseph, but in a way that led to the jealousy of the other brothers. That's ungodly giving. Now, biblical love is giving, but we have to learn how to distinguish between godly living and ungodly living. So biblical love is not feeling, but action. It's an action word. The action is to give. But you give in a godly way so that God smells that sweet incense. The action is to be positive in everything that you do because God is all positive and Him is no negative. And to avoid jealousy and hate, have compassion so that you know that the compassion is to feel what you're doing so that you know that what you are giving is godly love, not ungodly love. With that, I wish you shalom.